can we go over that test? Would you be willing to go through that testimony with me right now? There's no cameras in the court. Nobody's seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, I printed out that section of the transcript. Is this weird? Do you mind doing this?
I've done a lot weirder, trust me.
I walked right into that one. Okay. All right. So I'm going to be...
I have to put my glasses on, though.
That's fine. That's fine. Stormy Daniels' testimony in the criminal trial of former President Donald Trump was as consequential to the case as it was just show-stopping for everybody who heard about it. We're going to recount that testimony here now, and I'm interrupting right now and not just jumping into it straight away, mostly because I need to warn you that some of this conversation is about to be graphic. In these next couple of segments in particular, the conversation will not be appropriate for all audiences. So if you are squeamish, or if you're watching with kids, or if you, for any reason, just don't want to hear descriptions of unwanted sexual contact, this is your cue to check out and come back and join us in a few minutes. But with that said, here we go. Stormy Daniels, with her own testimony and me very awkwardly playing the part of Susan Hoffinger, the prosecutor who questioned Ms. Daniels on direct examination. Here we go. This is on your direct examination. Okay. Because at the end of this is when they ask for the mistrial. Okay. So I'll be the prosecutor and you be you.
You're good, Susan.
Thank you very much. What happened when you left the bathroom?
When I came out of the bathroom, I expected to exit, go around the bed and back out to where we had been sitting and talking and hopefully say, okay, time to go. I've been here long enough. That was actually when I realized how long I had been there. And when I opened the bathroom door to come out, Mr. Trump had come into the bedroom and was on the bed, basically between myself and the exit.
What was he wearing at the time?
His boxer shorts and a T-shirt.
What was your reaction to seeing him like that?
At first, I was just startled, like a jump scare. I wasn't expecting someone to be there, especially minus a lot of clothing. And that's when I had moments where I felt... That's when I had that moment where I felt the room spin in slow motion. I felt the blood basically leave my hands and feet, and almost like if you stand up too fast and everything kind of spins. That happened too. Then I just thought, oh God, what did I misread to get here? Because the intention was pretty clear. Somebody stripped down to their underwear and posing on the bed, like waiting for you.
I'm just going to stop for a second. When you say the blood left your hands and feet, like you stand up too fast, everything spinned, you mean that you were shocked?
Yes.
You were just surprised that he had come into the bedroom and had taken off his clothes?
Yeah, honestly, even if he had his clothes on, I still would have been surprised, startled.
Yeah.
Then when I realized that, he was minus a lot of clothing, then I was just like, oh no, what's happening?
So the prosecutor continues. What happened when you came out of the bathroom? Did he stay on the bed?
When I exited, he was just up on the bed like this. And then I did a pose, and I won't because I'm not wearing pants, where I say I have made them a joke. Sometimes he was doing his best Burt Reynolds.
Oh, he kind of extended himself on the bed like to show you the length of his body?
Uh-huh.
Was he joking?
I don't think so. I wish. That would have actually made it better.
Was there a bearskin rug? There was not. Okay. Returning to the transcript. What happened after that?
When I went to step around, I laughed nervously and, tried to make a joke of it and step around and leave. Even though I was moving like I was in a fun house, I felt like I was in slow motion. I thought to myself, great. I put myself in this bad situation. Like, what did I do? How did I misread everything? He stood up between me and the door, not in a threatening manner. He didn't come at me. He didn't rush at me. He didn't put his hands on me, nothing like that. I said, I have to go. I gotta go. He said, I thought we were getting somewhere. We were talking, and I thought you were serious about what you wanted. If you ever want to get out of that trailer park, basically, I was offended because I never lived in a trailer park.
Now, at this point in the testimony, there are objections, and there's a sidebar with the judge. You volunteer here. He was not physically coercing me.
No.
Are you at that point trying to establish that you didn't want to do it, but he wasn't making you do it?
He wasn't. I didn't want to ever say that it was any sort of rape or that he used a weapon or physical violence or force.
Yeah.
Also, I could have taken him.
But you said I put myself in this bad situation. What is the badness of the situation?
I had an ex who was also worked at a PR firm he had these like little pearls of wisdom. You know, for instance, one of them, he's like, the press will always use the picture of you looking the worst, not the one of you looking the best. Yeah. Those sorts of things. Put yourself in a bad situation and bad things happen. Put yourself in a bad situation. He used to say that to me all the time. Yeah. Don't get in a car with your friends who've been drinking. Then it's your fault. Something happened. Put yourself in a bad situation, bad things happen. I had put myself in a bad situation. But how did I misread it? Yeah. If your friend is wasted, falling down drunk, and you get in the car, you know they're drunk. I was like, what cue did I miss that told me to expect when I came out of that bathroom that he was there?
After the sidebar, the prosecutor says, you were both standing up at this time?
Yes.
And what happened next, briefly?
I think I just blacked it out. Now here is something I want to say.
Yeah.
I think that they have a typo here.
Okay.
I didn't say blacked out. They've taken that and run with it. If you go back and look at my older interviews where I have the exact same thing, blocked it out.
Blocked it out. So you think that what you actually said was, I just think I blocked it out?
Yes. Because blacked out means I fainted, and I never lost consciousness. I think I just, blocked it out.
Well, your next line in the transcript is, I was not drugged.
Yeah, but it's like, but people have taken this and run with it. Oh, you blacked out? You woke up on the bed?
Right.
No, it blocked it out. Go back and look at old interviews. It's the same. I know I have an accent, but I think I just blocked it out. I was not drugged. I never insinuated that I was on drugs. I was not drunk. And I never said anything of that sort. I just don't remember. And what you mean, and again, there's some objections there that happened between the lawyers and the judge. But what they're discussing there is whether you are implying that you had been drugged or that, right. What you're really, it seems to me like what you're really trying to say is there's parts of the sexual encounter that I don't remember even now. Yeah. And that's because I blocked them out. I have to tell you, Rachel, and I did write about this in my book. When I was going and meeting with prosecutors over and over, and they were nice people, they tried to be gentle with me. They were asking me the questions over and over because I wanted to make sure that they were doing their job correctly. They were also probably trying to prepare me for how awful the defense was going to be for me, although no one could have prepared me for how awful that woman was to me and how much she slut-shamed me, or tried to. They asked me such horrific, specific questions like, did his tongue dart in and out of your mouth? And I don't even know if you can use some of this. So you can just cut it out. When he was touching your breast, did he flick or roll or pinch your nipples? What did his skin feel like? Can you describe it? Things that would prove, when he said he didn't use a condom, well, what did you do with the semen? Mm. And that made me remember things that I didn't remember until then. I remember being in the car going back and having to wipe it off my leg. This is the graphic stuff that is not in the testimony, right, that could have been. As I remembered more of that, it still it narrows down the window of what I remember and don't remember. There's still a tiny part that I don't. And if what I have blocked out, I have now started to remember is so terrible, what am I still not remembering? Yeah. Why do you think you have blocked some of it out? Everything I just said, and I just felt your brain essentially protecting you from the memory. Yeah, and I thought that there was something wrong with me, or that I didn't say this stuff because I thought people would say that I was lying or making up. Well, you'd remember if something that impactful happened to you. That was then, and as I've gotten older and I've met people that have gone through similar things, or I've talked to therapists about this, they're like, no, that's a defense mechanism. Yeah. It is way more common for you not to remember these pieces than for you to remember it. And it made me feel a little bit better in a messed up way, or a little more normal. But I'm not a liar. Stormy Daniels is my guest this evening. I should tell you, we have reached out to the Trump campaign to ask for comment. They have not responded.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.